This is
Really
a
serious
serious
live stream.
podcast.
Hello. Welcome to the Nameless. Bum,
The
bum,
name.
bum, the Nameless live stream. And okay, today I'm trying to be serious. I'm trying to be serious, you guys. Today we're going to be talking about episode 6 of The Bad Batch. I almost said the Clone Wars of The Bad Batch, Decommissioned. We're
Kind of
going
is. This
to
episode is kind of.
start with a little bit of a round robin again, wherein we play some little snippets from the show. Of course, not recorded material because I don't want to get copyright striked. But we're
Except for
gonna.
Justin is a little bit too score accurate sometimes. So we're just waiting for Justin to get us in trouble because he's too good of a synthesis master.
I detuned it this time, so it's a little off this time.
Okay, good.
Okay, good.
So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna talk about the music, the sound effects in the show, and also just like now that we're 6 episodes in, I think we're starting to really build a musical world, like a sonic vocabulary for the show. And so I think it'd be cool to talk about that as well, like just sort of what the vocabulary is for the Bad Batch. Like, yeah, I feel like we're prepared to
Totally.
talk about that just
Yeah.
from what we've witnessed so far. So I'm here with James once again, percussion extraordinaire. Justin, like Ben Burt, watch out. Justin, our resident sound effects expert, but also, yeah, everyone here is a formidable musician and a Star Wars nerd. So, who wants to kick us off with the first test quiz example? Okay, so I guess I'll go.
Yours are always the hardest, so.
You're always the hardest. I need to get warmed up.
Because I play them the worst. So, okay, what do you want to? Would you rather hear something or would you rather see a transcription?
Ooh.
Have we
Let's
seen
get our
any?
ears.
Cool.
Oh,
Okay.
you're feeling like a score, Justin?
I mean, have we ever just shown the score and guessed from there, or?
Not yet.
No, not yet. Maybe I'll show it after.
Okay.
Okay.
So this one is I'm going to play it on the piano first, but it's happening in strings. So okay, it's about BPM around 82. So let me I realize this is helpful for me because when I think back to the examples, I need to get back into the groove of it. What was the tempo again? Okay. Okay. You ready to groove? Let me go slower. And also, okay, the low strings, the bass line is going like this. Just over and over again. And then the violins are going in staccato or like leggero. The exact notes are not that important, but I did do like an exact transcription because I wanted to see when the pattern was going to repeat. But the basic gist of it is just like.
do you think, Justin?
There's this one part. I'm not sure it's this though. The strings are also doing a kind of so I'm not, but it's more chromatic. I'm thinking of there's a particular shot where they're going down spiral stairs or up spiral stairs in the battle right as the droid army awakens. No, right before the droid army awakens. But I
Okay.
don't think that's it.
James?
So cold and Xanthe is so funny. You'd be like an excellent. You'd be like an excellent like SAT like proctor. You know. Like, okay. And next section. Okay. So I
This is my
believe
next
I believe I
career.
know this one.
Okay.
I believe this is when they're like just starting to infiltrate the factory around like 6 minutes or so, 6 minutes and 15 seconds or so. I found this. I think am I on in the right ballpark?
You're
It's kinda
exactly
like,
right. Yeah.
Ugh.
okay. Yeah. This was a strange key. This
Nice.
is a really interesting, like tonal. It's very different than anything we've heard in this show.
I don't think so.
before,
I think it's
found.
very
And
familiar.
you think so?
But
I
you
don't
know what
There's
it
something about it. Wait, yeah, go ahead.
you know what it sounds like to me though? It sounds like what I do when I'm trying to test out a new sound and I'm just sort of like plunking things.
It just like the melody was just kind of random
Yeah, like anyone who I think like anyone who grows up playing piano has the experience of just like and you eventually find like
Totally.
different modes just from like what is out there.
Yeah.
And so
It's
this was very
through
much
composed,
like
for sure.
this is very much like I don't know, you're just trying stuff. You'll do an ostinato, you kind of switch it up every now and then like just messing around.
Yeah.
And it does do an exact repeat. Like what I played was 8 bars, so it's like an 8-bar thing, and with the exception of the first bar, which is its own intro. Like once we get there, it does repeat and exactly. And so these are the notes.
Yeah, let's see.
Kind of sleuthy.
Oh yeah, I should. Yeah. I'm gonna put it up so that you can see the score while I'm playing it. You know, the score. Just my transcription, my interpretation of it, which is, of course, very approximate. I'm loading it. So what I think is interesting about, I think the reason I did the transcription because I wanted to see how it repeated is because, like, what's the point? Like, it doesn't really matter when it repeats. But
Sure.
I think it kind of shows some insight into the process of putting this together. Just because with TV, especially when you're working like with a DAW, there's gonna be a ton of literal copy paste. And so as I have been thinking about like the musical vocabulary, I have been curious like which things are gonna be copy pasted exactly from episode to episode and even within episodes. Can you see this?
Yeah.
So the part that's in green is the part that is repeated. So it's like, and then
Right.
which is like the classic thing that you do when you're trying to just finish up your rounds and get even
Yeah.
out. So it's just funny. And then again. And then there's a
Yeah.
chord cluster.
See,
Wow.
so this is okay. So this is what I'm glad you did this because I was going to ask you about this because you usually are like you usually do this type of thing, which is
What are you gonna say?
Which is like you really, you know what key it's in, all the stuff. And usually when I'm listening to a when we prepare for these things and I'm listening to a theme, I usually go, I think Xanthe will probably remember what key that's in. And so I don't have to figure it out. But the question I was going to ask it, okay, here's the reason why I think it sounds different than the rest of, or most of the music in this show. Is it's pretty modal, like in terms of it's in E flat major, but there's no roots in E flat. It just sits there on the third scale degree, right? It sits there on a G, right? The bass just sits there on, and then it kind of meanders between going from like that G to like up to the A flat and B flat, right? Right? Is that
Yeah.
what's it's in your? So what I found interesting, there's this level of lack of like I mean, you can tell what key it's in, but there's like you're not hitting the tonic really hard. A lot of these cues in these shows, like they hit the tonic really hard, and they hit like they're like big triumphant arrivals. I don't know, something about this felt so different in that way because it's just meandering between like the 3 chord and the 4 chord back and forth, which I found kind of unusual. But that
I
was just me
definitely
focusing on the
hear
bass line.
I hear
But
what you're saying, but like I think it sounds familiar to Bad
mm,
Batch. But I just now I'm gonna have to go back and check. But
only
because
in chord change. That's I guess what I mean is like it didn't sound. I think that the melodic material sounds familiar, but something about just like that bass line hitting that like me fa me, right, just back and forth felt really weird to me. I was like, what is this? This is interesting. It's like very Philip Glassian, I guess. That's what it kind of sounds like.
I don't think it sounds Philip Glassian at all. But like
You know what it sounds like? You know what it sounds like? I'll tell you it's specifically what album. That Ravi Shankar Philip Glass album.
well, yeah, that's because of the Ravi Shankar element, though.
Oh yeah. But it's very much like in that kind of
Yeah, yeah.
mechanical vein, I guess is what I'm saying.
I mean,
But yeah.
really, what it sounded like to me was DAW-based composing.
Hmm.
Really classic case. And like the copy paste part of it. Like I think that's why we're not changing notes, is because we just are kind of copying the cue until like one thing, and like we'll talk more about this later, but one thing I've noticed in this score is sort of an underlying principle of like just stay in the same key unless you need to change. Like there's not like there's not a lot of like melodic modulation. There's a lot of sudden key changes from one key to the next cue to the next cue, but there's not a lot of like modulation with like secondary dominance and like stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Right. It doesn't kind of kick into high gear. I mean, those types of moments are typically, those kind of big key change moments are usually like kind of a statement of themselves. So maybe
Well,
maybe it might help.
it is doing
Yeah.
that. It is like doing sudden key changes. It's like doing sudden it's marking it does a lot of marking of the transitions with like texture, with sudden movements, with like sudden changes and sudden key changes. But what I mean is we're not getting like like when just the meandering within,
Sure.
yeah.
I've noticed that a lot with a lot of just scores generally today, not just Star Wars, but just action scores. And I think you're nailing it right on the head with the DAW-based composing idea. It's getting through, it's making a mark, it's doing the thing, it's hitting the changes. The very brief amount of time I was actually in a film composing class, we went over hitting beats and finding those ahead of time so that you can kind of, at least for the first draft, line up some impact moments
Yeah.
and things like that. But with today, it's so easy in, I mean, war action movie show films, which this is what kind of is, to edit like crazy so much just so that because everything is just gets more 2-second slots, and then think switching between those instead of having like a large scene without any like major edits or anything like that. So I feel like with the DAW based composing, hitting impacts and having so many edits, it's so hard nowadays to not just do textural big changes, big
Totally.
percussion hits. And so the idea of like modulation goes right out the window because we don't got time for that. We don't got time for
It doesn't always go
these
out of the window,
meandering moments.
but yeah, like, well, it's funny because like I was just talking about this on my podcast 2 weeks ago, but like the micro editing and the impact that that has on media.
Hmm.
It's not that like modulation's impossible, but it's more that like ostinato is really going to be it's going to be favorable.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree with that.
And then even
Definitely.
like as a composer who, if I'm writing something by hand, then it seems easier to like change something on the fly. But even if I'm
Hmm.
copy pasting in Sibelius, if I can do that, like, or in my dot, if I can copy paste or loop, sure.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So
It's
anyway,
great to fill in that last 5 seconds that you need in that scene.
That's right.
Just take these two. Done.
who's next?
I'll go.
I'll go.
Okay.
Oh, okay. You do it. You do it. You go.
I'll go.
All right,
You
James.
sure?
You go,
Yeah.
James.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here we go. So you might guess, I'm not, for those viewers out there that are wondering where's my piano, well, it's across the country. I'm in Maine right now. So I didn't bring it. You know what's actually interesting is that this Airbnb I'm in has like, there's, I think my host is like a percussionist or has a percussionist in their family because there's like a cajon over there, which is
Oh,
like a
Yeah.
box that, a box drum, and there's a pair of bongos in the closet, which is really interesting. But out of what's the word,
not the
courtesy sake,
Gungan kind of bongo. Never mind.
yes, there's like a model, water Phantom Menace ship in there. But yeah, out of courtesy, I'm going to keep it in the headphones and I'm going to go through my DAW, which is cool because the sounds in
We're
this
talking about it.
episode actually are pretty lend itself to that. Oh, and also, yeah, keeping in theme with our DAW conversation. Okay, y'all ready? Here we go.
Mhm.
All right. Hear that? Is it loud enough?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Let me just make sure I got my. See, I transcribed it too. I'm gonna just as
Ooh.
as a joke, maybe I'll post my transcription of this, my
Yeah.
caveman transcription of this on my Instagram. So to go to contrast with these like very well put out score.
You can
All right,
text
anyway,
it to
here we
me and
go.
I'll put it up.
I will. Okay, here we go. Ready?
That's it?
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
God.
But I'll do it again.
Okay.
Here we go.
Oh my God. Does it only happen once?
It literally happens once in this episode, but to me it was so like strange and out of
Oh,
place.
Well,
I
okay,
was
because there was a drum part that was strange for me too, but
mhm.
that's not what it sounded like to me.
Okay, well maybe hold on because I got another drum thing coming up. But
Okay.
but yeah.
yeah. Yeah. There were some good drum moment groovy things happening in this episode, and I'm trying to cycle through them all in my head for that
Groovy's the right
one.
word.
Yeah, there
My
was some grooves this round.
my hope with this was that possibly one of the two of you might have heard this and did the same thing I did, which was, okay, so
James will
that's a
figure that out.
choice. yeah, maybe it's possible.
What were you saying? That's a choice?
It was definitely a choice
Okay.
to be made in that moment.
Was it towards the beginning?
No, not in the beginning.
Okay.
I'll give you a hint. It's like pretty much in the middle.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I don't know. Well, do I know? Maybe I know. No, I don't know.
Okay.
See, there's a lot of
this,
big. Oh, go ahead.
Can you describe what the drums are that you're playing?
So what's most noticeable about these is they're very much like synthesized drum machine sounds with a super gated snare, like super
Mhm.
gated reverb snare. It sounds like something from Stadium Rock from like the 80s, right? Which is what I tried to. I've got like a little gated reverb on my snare. Right? You
Oh,
hear
okay.
that gate kicking in, and then we have these kind of like really boomy Hans Zimmer-y kind of bass drums. I don't really have that on my sound. And then there's a straight up like splashy hi-hat in the back, and it's basically just it's 2 bars, and it just comes out of nowhere, and it's just it's,
Okay.
stops.
Just is it like 8:35?
No,
Okay,
it's
okay.
not. But
Okay.
what happens at 8:35?
At 8:35 this happens. Um See, I have drums on here too, but I don't know where they are.
You can play at that game. Oh yeah, I know what you're
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about. Yeah, that was a really interesting moment too. Yes, yes, I heard that. That's very interesting. So this is basically what's happening in this cue that I'm giving you. Is basically it's right before Omega gets stuck in the conveyor, and it's right when
Oh.
Rafa and Hunter are like kind of yelling at each other, and she goes like, "What do you expect me to be grateful or you know?" Um,
Oh,
that part,
yes.
and then they start blowing up a bunch of droids, and like right as the explosion happens, there's like this crazy like synthesizer boom, and then it's just this like random boom boom ka boom ka boom boom ka boom, and I was just like, what was that?
So there were 2 of those in this episode then, where it like suddenly was like we're at a stadium concert.
Yeah, there were some serious just like beat jams in this episode,
Yeah,
which is
the
really
whole conveyor
interesting.
belt. Because I was about to ask, is this the conveyor belt? But
Mm.
it was right before, because when she's on the Omega's on the conveyor belt, there's that definitely like a little 2/4 backbeat happening
Okay.
with
Well, so maybe I can skip my next one. I can go right into that next one
Yeah.
since you just brought that in, because
mm,
what's really okay, and because we're talking about it. So the next one is this. Okay, check this out. This is really interesting. Okay. Got it. Okay. Here we go.
yeah.
When they're about to fight the Rancor. Just kidding. Justin, do you know?
It's she's about to go over, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. So
Yeah,
this is the
she's
conveyor
just.
belt, which is really interesting because you notice it's in 7. This is a groove in
Hmm.
7 beats this whole time, which is really interesting. Um, which I feel like 7 is like the go-to odd meter
Oh,
for
yeah.
mainstream score.
For sure.
Oh
It's like
yeah.
if it's not gonna be in 4 or 3, it's gonna be in 7, and then
Which is
everything
I
after
think
that.
it's a good choice.
Yeah.
I agreed.
Yeah.
Well, because what it is it basically takes that 8-bar feeling and it just cuts you off short, right?
Mhm,
And so it gives us a sense of feeling really anxious because that beat cycle that we're so
Yeah,
used
because
to,
it
and
feels like you didn't get
especially
to
with
finish your sentence and you're moving
Hmm.
on to the next
exactly,
one. Yeah.
exactly. But that's really interesting. He's got this like cowbell clave sound. That's the pitch right there, which is basically like a
And the claves are totally something that we hear in this series.
Yeah.
yeah. It's
It's like
definitely a
it's kind of the
sound.
Western vibes.
Mm,
Oh yeah.
mm.
Yeah,
Western desert. There's a desert. There's going to be a rattle and a clave somewhere.
definitely.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes. See
Um,
earlier episodes, for example.
Right.
Um,
but I
That's
had
funny.
to do that one because I'm always a fan of when somebody just has to give us something a little bit more rhythmically interesting other than just 4/4 and 3/4 for once. So
that's a good
um,
one.
it's a good one.
Oh,
A lot
conveyor belt.
yeah, the conveyor. Lots of Attack of the Clone vibes.
Yeah.
Totally.
That scene. Hmm.
All right,
Yeah,
Justin, give us a sound.
stump it.
Okay. This one was hard. This one was real hard. But
Did you recreate it?
I tried to. Because it had a couple parts all within it.
Ooh.
And the sound, the object itself has many sounds, but there's one in particular I really liked that kept appearing. So hopefully you all hear this and this is gonna work.
Okay.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Not exact, but
So for those watching,
guess?
Justin made that sound
well, I tried.
with his bare hands.
I captured the waves from the air.
Yeah, what is this sound? What is
You want
this
one more
sound?
time?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I will say the lower, noisier is not quite the same as the episode, but the little buzz at the end, hopefully both are coming through, is much more accurate-ish.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Maybe
Sounds
in
so
rapid
familiar and-
succession.
It does.
Oh.
Okay. Hint. Does it have anything to do with a wrecker?
Oh.
No.
Really? It's
Okay.
okay.
No.
It sounds like head bonks or something.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. I was thinking this.
Yeah.
There's a
can see that.
terrible movie from the early 2000s called Not Another Teen Movie. And there's like a scene where they're making fun of like the old high school football trope of like the one person on the football team that keeps getting hurt, like, and getting concussions, and like that it basically is criticizing that part of like high school football about how it's really dangerous for people to, you know, just get and they have a joke where this one quarterback like has a countdown to like how many more like hits will he need until he has a concussion, right? Or like until he's finally out, right? And this is what it keeps reminding me with Wrecker. Like literally every episode, he's just like smacking his head against
Oh, that's so true.
against something.
We're
And
just
it's
one
the
bonk
countdown.
away.
It's like 2 bonks away from Wrecker to execute Order 66.
I mean, it also
so it's
reminds
not
me
Wrecker.
of Monsters Inc. And my head's been thinking about Monsters Inc. the last 2 episodes because Sid reminds me of Roz.
Yes.
Yeah.
In that.
Yeah.
And so it reminds me of like when they're,
demeanor.
when they're hitting,
Yeah.
you know, Randall over the head.
Yeah. Dunk, dunk. Yeah. I will give the hint that it is a weapon.
Oh, it's the bow. Oh,
Oh,
that's
you
right.
did it.
Oh, and it's
It is
funny
the
because
bow.
I was wondering, will Justin do the bow? And then
Specifically, I wanted. Okay, the whole bow has this nice, cool arc to it. When she draws, it has this like wow thing, and when she's holding it, not only is there electricity sounds, but there's these like tails that just kind of do this wee 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 kind of a thing. But what I was going for was the release. When she releases
Yeah.
the bow,
Yes.
there's both a kind of sound and a
Yeah.
that kind of as the beam goes out.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
For some reason, I
really
just
cool.
loved that one. Like,
It's gonna be an important sound.
And when
for
you did
this
it 3
series, for
times in a
sure.
row, it was like when Sid does it.
Exactly. That's the part I had on loop. I was just sitting there going bleep bleep bleep. I'm like, I'm gonna
Because
get
of
it.
your
I'm gonna
noodle
get it.
arms. Yeah.
Dude, Sid is so great, especially
I
that
love
one
Sid.
moment where she's like she tells Tex, she's like,
Goggles.
"Hey, goggles. I got
That
this.
is-
I'll do."
I wrote that down like when I was writing in my journal this morning. I was like, goggles. I
So
love when she
funny.
says goggles.
So good.
Just the way she says goggles is just
Goggles.
very pleasing. Very pleasing.
Very pleasing. But that bow is so good. Awesome, Justin. That
Thank-
bow is one of these perfect examples of like Star Wars logic, where it's like this weapon doesn't make any sense. It's just like by drawing the laser this way, what is physically happening like with this?
You get the-
I mean, it does
I
make
just
sense. There's ways to make it make sense, but it's just like it's just one of those things where it's like it's in Star Wars because it's cool, not because it like is like a logistically sound decision, you know.
ever
Um,
since those bows have appeared, they've been on my mind. Just like because I one thinking the exact same thing is like, why are we using? It's just interesting, but then they somehow made it like functionally work. Someone had to
oh yeah,
really think and sit there like, I want this, but how do I convince everybody
how do you
that this is
that
what
it
we
makes
want in
yeah,
a world of blasters and laser
oh
swords?
yeah,
We
I
need
love
the
it.
laser bow.
We need a bow.
We need the
Yeah.
laser bow.
We will get the
I
laser
love it.
boomerang next, but first we got to
Laser
convince
boomerang.
about the laser bow.
I, I
That's
wonder what
funny.
that would sound like. The laser
No.
boomerang.
I mean, it helps when you don't have to have arrow like a quiver to
Yeah,
carry, for sure.
exactly.
We'll go back to the
That's
bow.
true.
I liked that she wasn't good at it.
Hmm.
Likewise, I like that, and they even made a point like not exactly a natural, is she?
Yeah, I do
Um,
think like them making a point of it. I feel like there's going to be a point where she does become good at it, and so
mm,
the events and music surrounding what happens when she is
yeah,
good at it will be interesting. I mean, we did get a hint of it, like when
yeah.
she is starting to hit her stride. Then we get a little Omega theme
Hmm.
later. So James has provided a transcription of something. Is this what you already played? Is
Yes.
that
So this is my joke, which is like you look at
Uh,
what you look at what Chrysanthe's transcriptions look like, and then you look at what my okay. So the first one, let's take a look. Let's all read along, everybody. So
all
so
right,
the first one
I got my
is the
clapping.
conveyor belt, okay, which is it's this one. One second, let me get this going. Yeah. I decided to put that in 7/8, but it very well could have been in 7/4. So those could
Oh,
be
I see
half
what you
half
did.
notes
Okay.
instead.
Quarter.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
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 And then the other one is that random arena rock drum fill, right when she's about to go on which is this. That one.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Well,
Now
this
everyone
brings.
knows how to write drum set notation. You usually typically do an
Yeah.
upside down for the kick drums, typically, and then the X's for hi hat notes.
Well, then you can make fun of my notation without, because it didn't have that. But my next example was going to be the what I the kick snare kick snare. But here is another thing. Tell me if you recognized this.
Hmm. I think that's like season 3 of the Twilight Zone. Um,
Episode 4. 2 minutes in.
about 2 minutes in. Interesting.
Okay,
I'm
a lot of
stoked.
this was a lot of this was happening when the police droids, not the battle droids, but the police droids and the Bad Batch, Trace and Rafa were all fighting. And I'm still going back to that staircase. There's like a weird staircase, and I swear the strings are doing that around there. I don't have a timestamp, but it's before the battle droids, but while they're still kind of running away and forming that plan, perhaps, to hack into the tech droid. It
So
was
there's another place where there's chromaticism in the strings. It's like, and
hmm.
it just repeats. And then it kind of like goes into a tone cluster, like a, and then it's like a tone
Huh.
smash. So it's like,
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Huh. A tone smash, huh?
Uh-huh.
Should start a band called Tone Smash.
Okay, so for the first one, I have a transcription with really not good drum notation. Sorry. Oh, wrong one. Wrong one.
I was gonna say
um,
we typically don't read whole notes as drummers.
God, what am I doing? Wrong one.
You gotta hold the snare to the full length of the bar.
Exactly right.
Here we go. Drum kit.
Just
Okay,
lift
I
it.
mixed it up. I did the kick going with the stem going
That
up,
works.
but
No, that's okay.
it actually is right after. It's like
Snare is
during
just
that.
usually
It's
the,
like
yeah.
during the drum kit. It's like do do do.
I see.
It's really funny.
And yeah, just a little inside baseball knowledge here. Snare usually goes on the C space for the
Oh,
the
okay.
C, where the C would be in treble clef. Yeah.
Oh,
But
good to know.
kick can go wherever on the bottom line or F or wherever.
So this is kick.
I feel like I heard this around 8:50 in the
Well,
episode.
now that it's up there. Yes. So that's what was happening there. I guess we'll just see if we'll get some more stadium rock violin chromatic duets in the future.
I'm digging it.
Yeah.
I mean, the
What's going on
chromaticism.
exactly in this moment?
What was that?
What's happening in that moment?
Other than the drums, which is the only part that matters.
No, I mean like in the episode. I mean,
That's a good question.
This is the part where Omega and Hunter take a violin and drum break, and
they just go with it.
Yeah, don't just stand there, grab a weapon, and then it's like
okay.
they're
Okay.
rocking.
And then she's like, "I had one."
Yes, I had one.
I had one, but I sucked at it.
She gets a little confident there.
And then the police droids jumping in. I mean, you have to be confident when you have that beat behind you.
Oh yeah.
You have to.
Oh yeah.
So, I have a few things I could show, which, doesn't have to be quiz-like, but just things I noticed about the, musical parts that I noticed. The Bad Batch theme did come up a few times, but really just, briefly. Again, we still haven't had, much of a full out in the open statement of theme yet. Not since episode 2, I think, or something like that, or 3. But my favorite part of it was this one that I already put up here, but it was when they were reconnecting, when Wrecker and Omega are reconnecting, and the theme that we get here is sort of it goes kind of sweet at the end, like it's. Oops, I have the drum sound on. Okay. Subito piano. It's full orchestra, so it's not really piano, but it's like do do. It kind of does that triplet, that drawn out triplety thing, and it's swelling, it's crescendoing, and it's doing that, that pleasing pop chord thing. Going to the submediate, and then there's that subito piano and just sustaining that that suspension chord in the strings, and it yeah. So it's so yeah.
It's really interesting. Is that it's that you play it like that is very similar to the Avengers theme, actually, when you were just playing
Yeah,
that, which is
actually.
kinda interesting, right? Boom, boom, boom,
Oh, really?
boom, 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 boom.
Well, I mean, it's the
Yeah,
Bad Batch theme, so it's
yeah,
many thing. It's many things.
many things.
Okay, like someone should do a mashup of that plus an NFL theme plus the Tums theme.
NFL thing you did.
And then also Usher.
Was it on one of these streams, or was it just in conversation that you referenced Usher kind of recently as well? I feel
Me?
like you.
It
Yeah, I
probably
feel
was
like
in
you
reference
talked.
to the Bad Batch theme. I don't know how else it would have come up.
Maybe it was. Okay. Okay. I'm like, I feel like I've talked about Usher with somebody recently, and I think it was you. Probably in this theme.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, there's also some kind of rushed versions of this theme throughout when Hunter is kind of like trying to save Omega, which is really cool too. Um,
Yeah.
it's
Where it,
kind
like
of a
suddenly
versatile
speeds
theme,
up
actually.
and then suddenly
Yeah.
translates to a different key, like sudden key
It's all
change.
these little bites, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, just dum ba dum bum. Da-da-da-da, you know,
Yep.
these
Mhm.
the little
Yeah.
after the two. So it kind of adds what you were saying, Xanthe, the musical language. It's like this is our dictionary here of Bad Batch isms
Mhm.
that we can throw into a score, kind of a thing, and to make a Bad Batch musical episode, kind of a thing.
Mhm. And
That's
it's very
definitely one of
like
them.
it's like a collage of like let's cut and paste the theme in this key, then let's do this, and then we'll throw in this, and then we'll add a new texture, and this. And that seems like how the construction. That's how the construction feels like to me, rather than like I'm gonna sit through this and think how to modulate through it from one starting point. It's like, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
starting a drawing or something from multiple
Yeah.
directions. Or the collage, let's just go back to the collage analogy. That was better. It's like a collage instead
Or
of
what's
like,
that game? Exquisite.
oh, exquisite corpse.
Yeah, is that the
Specifically.
one where everyone kind of finishes the next step, kind of a thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just going
I
around
don't
the
think that's
studio,
what
just
it feels
passing
like,
the
though.
files
Oh, that would be
from DAW to
funny.
DAW. It's like, all right, you get the next four
You get
measures.
the-
You get the next four measures.
That's funny. That's funny.
Continue or change, up to you.
Does anyone else have more examples?
And one person and was like, I think I would put a stadium
Stadium rock.
drum beat for 2 bars here, and then it'll
And-
never come back again.
What's
Yep,
funny
and-
is that this episode, I don't think had any diegetic music, right? Like there was,
Yeah, it did.
there were a couple
it
parts
had
where
some in the bar.
okay,
In the beginning.
I was on the
Mm.
fence for that. I thought I couldn't tell if that was meant to be diegetic or if that was meant to be score.
I feel like they showed a jukebox like in that scene. There was like something that looked like a jukebox in this, and the reason why is because I was also trying to figure out. It was kind of
And it was super soft.
It was
Yeah.
super soft, and it was also kind of strange in its chord changes. I want to go back and
Yeah.
and figure out the harmonic like material there, because it was not it. I gotta say, I made this big statement I think 2 weeks ago where I was like, bar music has like metallic-y weird sounds in Star Wars, and turns
And
out
this
that
was like
is,
a syrupy, like sweet, like nice
Yes.
theme. Yeah, that's why I didn't think. That's why it didn't read as diegetic
Right.
to me. I was like, this is not
Yeah.
what a bar would be playing. But if it's a jukebox, I can see how like somebody would play that. It just was so soft.
Yeah, which one of the Bad Batch members do you think put that on the jukebox?
Echo.
Yeah, I think Echo.
I was just gonna
love.
say
By the way,
Echo.
I loved his moment in this. That I like laughed out loud. Like, is there an echo in here? Yep, I'm right here.
Yes.
I think it dawned on me really slowly as it was happening, and I was like, yeah, I can see how that's funny.
That is such a wet blanket that you just put on that joke. Right there, Xanthe. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I could see why somebody would think that's funny.
Like 5 minutes later. Yeah, okay, I get it.
Meanwhile, I'm across the country
You're living your life,
laughing to
yeah.
myself, laughing to myself, watching this, and you're on the other side of the country going,
I bet James thought that was funny.
I bet James thought that was funny.
Well, I was right. So here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Speaking of
Um,
things that are on the nose, um, how about when the droids started to activate, and we get our old friend, the Trade Federation theme, right?
yes.
Um,
Are
which
you gonna
is
play it for
interesting.
us?
I wish you've got that down, right?
You know what?
You got.
I've been really wanting to find a cue sheet for this, and I don't know if it's like public. It's probably not public knowledge, but
Mhm.
if I would, I want to get my hands on a cue sheet. I want to
Mhm.
know. Um,
Well,
because
let me ask
it
you.
would have had to list that. It would have had to list, that as a John Williams cue. And also, I'm just curious. It also would have, and it would also list the source music, and I just want to see where the
Yeah.
diegetic
Mm.
parts.
So, what's your interpretation of the Trade Federation theme? Because I was wondering this. Like, is it just like droids, or is it specifically the Trade Federation? Like, that was what I was confused
Oh,
about. Because I don't remember that theme coming back in episode 2 or 3. Once the Trade Federation isn't really the focus anymore. Like, to me, that's a very Phantom Menace. Like, that specifically that trade
I'm
organization,
gonna
not
look.
really like the
I'm gonna pull up.
Confederacy.
I'm gonna pull up the like index of when the themes appear in the movies. Just a sec.
Awesome,
You
awesome.
you have to remind me of what this theme sounds like, because now I'm going. Because
It's
Phantom Menace
um,
is one of my all-time favorite scores, and I'm trying to go
yeah,
back to like which one that
it's
was.
it's um um bum bum bada bum bum bada dun da dun da dum da
Yes,
dum
yes,
boom
yes.
boom 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 boom.
Ba-da-da-da-da, ra-da-da-da-da-da.
You know,
Yes, 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 yes,
you
yes,
know
yes.
why it's deep in my brain? Not even
Hmm.
because of
Is
the
it from a game?
movie. It's from that Phantom Menace PC game back, like I don't know if you ever played it.
Yes.
It was also on like PlayStation or whatever, and it was like I probably spent I don't know, like a combination of total weeks just like playing that constantly when I was a kid.
Was this
And
was this the Battle for Naboo game?
it was specifically like the whole game, like or the whole movie. It was like
Oh,
you like start
interesting.
out on the Trade Federation ship, you like go to Naboo, etc. And that
Gotcha,
score would just
gotcha.
be piping into my brain, like and they wouldn't, they would just like nowadays when you play especially a Star Wars video game, they've scored it in a way where it like they've got a lot of material to work with, right? But
Hmm.
back in
Really?
1999, they would just like for instance like Battlefront,
Because the
like you
books
could
use like 5 cues over and over.
oh that's funny. Well, like Battlefront, like the score really goes through. It doesn't repeat too much. I mean, maybe on the menu screens, but back in the day, like 1999, they would just like play like the same. So I must have like on that Naboo level, it was just like trying to find where I'm going, and it's like dun 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 dun, dun like just into my ears constantly.
On the
So
Phantom Menace
I know those
soundtrack, is that the one that's called Droid Invasion or something?
probably. I think so. Yeah, it's
I
the
think so. I'm
invasion
looking it up
theme.
right now.
So that's what's interesting. Maybe because I never associated that so much, I guess, with like the separatists and the droid in general, but more just the Trade Federation. So I'm curious. I'm curious what
That's a good question
Kevin's.
because I'm sure it'll come up more.
It was welcome regardless. It was nice to hear some old cues back from the prequel
The
era.
way that you're humming it, like it almost does sound like Resistance March. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
which we talked about. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm,
I
hmm.
feel a very strong connection between those two.
That's my
Um,
favorite part. Do, do, do,
yeah.
do, 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 do.
Yeah. Xanthe in the soundtrack, the original soundtrack to Phantom Menace, it's definitely appears in the Droid Invasion and the appearance of Darth Maul, which is the full title of the track. But I know it appears
Oh,
a couple other little places in that score.
does it show up in
Um,
episode
I think
2 as well?
I don't know.
That's the thing is I don't remember it in any other prequel, but maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, there are in the prequels. I feel like there are a lot of themes that just get dropped. Like
Across the
like
stars, right?
somehow we don't
Does it-
hear as often as I would have thought that we would.
right.
Like Jar Jar's theme, which is so through composed and like well thought out. If you go listen to that theme, you're like, really put a lot of thought into this little tune.
Is the
Do you
key
think
to
it was meant
everything.
to be a
He's the
motif though, or more like a set piece, or like a
I don't know. It appears when he's on screen, but it's funny. It's like the Ewok theme. You don't think of like how long that theme actually is. It goes so many different places. The full Ewok kind of like march or whatever it is.
We'll find
Um,
answers to this. Well,
We'll
here's
find
also
answers.
a thing. Like I try when, getting deep into analysis, I try to like follow breadcrumbs with a grain of salt because it usually doesn't mean much. Sometimes it means a little bit, but sometimes it doesn't. Well, the appearance of themes, I think, oftentimes does signify like is a quotation on purpose, but I think there are some approximations also. So like the distinction between Trade Federation or just the droids, I think
Hmm.
for something like Bad Batch, given how prevalent the Force theme was in Rebels, I don't really think it necessarily means something as specific as
Sure. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
hmm.
I maybe liken it to, I mean, where we really see the droids make their debut as like an invasive force is
That's a good
episode
point.
1. So this is kind of like, we haven't seen this in, well, it's actually hasn't been that long since since the Clone Wars in this show, but it's like the droids are activating again, and here they are, the menace of the droids are coming, right?
Yeah, that's
I
actually
found
a good
this, yeah,
point. That
yeah,
it's like
this scene,
droids when they're a threat. It's not like we don't hear this when the droids are just being like terrible
right?
whatever
Yeah.
B1 battle droids. Like
Yeah, except for, this is immediately undercut by them going like, "What happened? Did we win?" Huh?
I was laughing so
Oh,
hard because the personalities of the droids, of the battle droids, that
I
they
can't get
just
enough of the battle droids. I just can't get enough of them.
they're too
I
much.
think that's one of the best part of the Clone Wars series to me is just like constant hilarious battle droid moments.
I think my favorite is
Um,
like when they're having the like, oh, we're not like you B1s, we're like B2s or whatever.
it's
Uh,
great. I found this whole scene was very Attack of the Clones. I mean, it's even down to the like
Mhm.
Omega gets stuck in the conveyor belt, just like Anakin got stuck on the conveyor belt with his like lightsaber getting glued to him, right? It's like,
Yeah.
there's like a smelting part where like, it's such a, I think it's a pretty, it's a likely they were calling back to that scene. Instead of it being a place where they're building droids, this is a place where they're destroying droids, right?
Mhm.
So
It's an
a lot of
interesting
prequel
because
stuff in
that
this one.
being that's with that being such a significant callback because I heard a different callback in the factory with all these things as well, and
what
that
was
was
your
going to
callback?
be it was going to be my next sound, but I think you'll hear it and you'll be like, I know this one. I tried my best again to recreate this if I can get it.
Yes.
What?
Does that come through?
Wait a second. Is that a synthesizer, or did you record your voice doing
That
that?
is definitely Justin's
That's my voice. That's my voice because the sound has this like yeah at the end of it, and I couldn't figure out how to do it, so I just sang and put some reverb on it.
Oh my
I love
god.
it. Can you do it again, Justin?
Yes. Do you know the sound though?
No, but it sounds like
Can I?
okay. But from what it sounds like, it's indoors. It's somewhere where there would be reverb, so it's probably in the factory.
Oh my
It
god, that's so funny.
Absolutely. It appears twice in this episode, 5:39 and 5:15 and 5:39, right as they're walking into the factory. And you definitely hear it when they look up and they see like someone pass in a uniform real quick. They look up the stairs. This is before they really get into the mission. And that sound is one of my favorite random sounds in Star Wars because it throws back to Empire Strikes Back in the carbonite scene. That's the sound of the claw. As weird as this is, the claw going down, grabbing Han Solo, and then goes, yeah, as it pulls back up. And
I
it's
think
one of the
yes,
most
I think I know what you're talking
distinct
about.
sound effects in my Star Wars memory for some reason. And I know it's appeared a few other places, but the fact that they
Yes.
threw it in there, I mean, now I got a Carbonite.
Okay, what's that? What that's reminding me of is the revised version of the Crate Dragon in episode 4,
Mm, for sure.
because it has that
I can
like
see that.
weird scream and all this other stuff happening at the same time. That's a very like interesting.
Let's see. Okay,
Interesting.
okay, here it is.
Wait, don't play it though, because I'll get
Dun,
copyright struck.
dun, the claw's going
Oh.
down. Chewy.
Oh, I heard it.
Oh,
Okay,
that?
okay. Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah, and the fact that they threw that in twice in this episode, and I want to say it was also in the Attack of the Clones factory scene where they were seeing the droids being built themselves. Yeah, that's there's a little random
That's a
sound
cool.
effect throwback to
that's a
the
cool sound.
originals that
I have a request. I have a request. I think that Justin should host a like Star Wars sound trivia night, and we just all and Justin just prepares like sounds from
God, that's so
random
much homework
like
for
moments.
just.
Yeah,
Oh, I do
Justin,
it.
it's okay.
Don't worry, I'll do it. That would be
Oh
fun.
my god, that would be amazing! Like
That would be
throughout the
so
whole
fun.
original, like throughout the saga movies, we all just try to guess which random sound Justin pulled from. Like, oh, that was the claw from Empire Strikes Back. Yes, you got it.
I know.
That'd be awesome.
Something that I've heard a lot is that there's a lot of video game sounds being being used. And as someone
Mm.
who hasn't played the video games, I feel like I'm missing out on a lot of references. Like I think you already, no, you were pointing out the music, but sound design wise, I know that there are a lot of recalls to various games. So just a note for the future: if you notice something that is familiar, it might not be from a movie. So if you think back to your games, maybe which I think is like, it's so interesting because people have been like, I've noticed on Twitter, people have been noticing that, and which makes complete sense because when you're playing a game and the sounds are associated with like things that you're doing and actions and maybe like getting points or whatever, you're gonna hear those sounds so often and like drilled into your memory through the certain actions that you're doing in the game, and which is like a great way to gamify, like if you want to learn sounds. But yeah, I they definitely have that library to play around with. So
That's interesting because now I'm thinking back to the hours upon hours I used to play Episode 1 Pod Racer on the N64. Best game. I'm best Star Wars game in my opinion, but I know there's better ones. But those sounds are the pod racing was so much fun. So much fun.
I can't hear you, James.
Uh-oh.
We lost him. Or let me just make sure I didn't mute him. I don't think I would have. No, I didn't. Well,
You know,
yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, cool. Just switch my audio thing. Am I coming in and out, or am I cool?
I think you're cool.
Okay.
Oh, no, going in and out.
Okay. I'll see you in a second. I'll just come back in.
Okay. So the droids, the tactical droids, I like to pay attention to like the pitch that the droids are vocalizing on.
Yeah.
So, and some of them are obviously have very melodic or harmonic voices, if you will. So there he is. And how are you? Can we hear you?
Is it better now? Or is it still bad?
I can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah. Yay. Okay. So here is something that one of the droids says, that one of the tactical droids says. I mean, I'm not going to. Well, you'll see what you'll see. All right, we're getting fancy again. Okay. Do you know what the tactical droid is saying?
Oh, and he says it in a perfect fifth.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, because he's got the little vocoder voice. Is it when he's like cannot transmit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Cannot transmit. And he's got the vocoder, but it's like buzzy. It's super. So that's the funny thing about vocoders is that you can if you're playing up high, you sound a little bit more auto-tuny. But when you are in a lower octave, that's when
Yeah, it's
it
more
gets
like.
buzzy like that. That's what I'm saying. It gets like super buzzy and like robotic all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, there's metal on him.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Cannot
droid.
transmit.
I love droid pitches. I forgot what the name of the one in the Clone Wars is that has. I think also vocalizes. I think vocalizes on a B as well. Do you know? Do you know what droid I'm talking about? You know the droid
In the
that
Clone Wars?
always
The
talks
droid
on
that
a
uses
B.
B, yeah.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
This is in the Clone Wars for sure.
Yeah.
You said?
Yes.
Huh. Is it like that what's that like general droid? It's like that
Oh,
droid that's like
I think so.
kind of like a military commander. Yeah. I mean, it's the tactical droid, right? It's the same type of droid. Isn't
Oh.
it?
Ah.
Oh, putting two and two together. I'm like, that tactical droid sounds like that other droid.
Sounds like
I'm pretty
So,
sure they're the same,
I
right?
know Star Wars stuff.
But going off of these droid sounds, though, the police droid sounds I liked too this round. I thought
Oh
those
yeah.
were kind of cool. The security droids that got popped in, they had their own little vocalization to them that wasn't the same. I like how they really try to make every droid a little unique.
All
Um,
droids.
um,
Oh yeah.
I mean, the R7 still had the very much the RMEC, astromech kind of ring modulation, frequency sweeps, and stuff like that in there. But speaking of that, who are they talking to at the end of the show?
I think it.
Oh,
I think
I
it was
I
Rex.
think it was
I think it's
Rex.
Rex too. Yeah. Yeah.
That would make sense. I was gonna say Saw, but Rex
But we've
makes
already
sense
seen
now.
Saw.
Hey,
Yeah. I
you
think
never know.
it would be kind of strange for them to make like a big reveal out of somebody they've already shown in the show, right?
That's
Like
true.
this seems like it's somebody that they've already seen or that we have not seen, right?
Although I
And I
would
think it
like
would
it
make
if it
sense
were
to,
Saw. I think I would
oh,
like
for
that.
sure. Yeah.
Because they had that run in with them at the very beginning, and
Yeah, I'm
maybe
waiting for him to reappear, like in some way,
yeah,
though. Like,
maybe that's
whether
what
it's
I'm
him or
thinking
not,
it is.
I think, I think he needs to come back,
I wouldn't
especially
mind
because
if it were him at all. Or if he
no,
came back in another context, that's fine too. But
yeah,
But yeah, Rex would be interesting. That whole team.
I think it would make sense considering their contact was Ahsoka, right, from the Clone Wars. So it would make sense that Ahsoka, as we know from season 7, is with Rex around this time. So it would kind of make sense that they would have made that connection as well. And they specifically said they specifically say like there is a clone force that is like that helped us out in this thing, which I think that would interest you. So that seems to me like it's indicating there's a clone connection, right?
Yeah.
I think it could mean. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I do think it's probably Rex, but I I think a lot of people would be interested in that clone or not. Like for the same
Yeah,
reason that like everyone is interested in the tactical droid. Like having clones on your side is like leverage to someone, to everyone in a different
Yeah.
way. Like it
excellent.
what if she were talking to Lama Su, for example? Like
True.
it's not, but
Um,
it could, I think the clones are interesting to many people. But I mean, I
What I find
did
interesting about this show
what?
is that the Empire isn't like actively chasing them right now. Like they're not like
Mhm.
wanted particularly, unless I mean I guess we might find out that they are, but we
They
haven't.
are though,
I mean it's
right?
been like four. I mean what Empire
That's true. It's more
is
like the
like
bounty hunters are
forces,
after
right?
them.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
which is
Crosshair's
interesting
not
because
after them yet. I don't think so.
yeah,
They
they
went
just
on that
shown
weird
up and
mission, that random thing, but they're not like enemies of the galaxy. I was gonna say the enemies of the state yet,
right.
enemies of the planet. Of
I do
the
think it's weird that we haven't
Yeah,
seen a lot from the Empire and I think it's weird that we haven't seen Crosshair in several episodes.
yeah,
yeah.
it is strange.
So like that doesn't
But I
mean those things aren't necessarily happening. We're just not seeing them, and they clearly are not more worried about that somehow.
hmm
I'm
I'm
curious how much
interested
time
to
is
kind of
elapsing.
yeah. I'm kind of I was really getting into the Empire Camino relationship
Mm-hmm.
and how that all faltered and theoretically went down the
mm,
went down the drain for one of the sides, obviously.
right,
Yeah, I'd
So
like
I'm
to
really
see more
interested
of
to
that side
see
come back.
where we're going with that, because we established that this was a thing and that they wanted Omega back for whatever reason. They seem to want Omega back, but our one helpful Kaminoan friend um, is protecting Omega. I think let her escape. Way back in like episode 2 or 1, one
right.
of those.
I
Very
feel
curious.
like
Very curious.
the other things that like I keep hearing about the show and these episodes. Well, do we want to talk about the chip,
Hmm.
Wrecker's chip? What do you all think of
Mm.
that whole thing? Clearly, clearly it got a little bit more lodged in this episode.
Yeah.
Yes. Sound design was very, very interesting, right? You started to kind of hear from inside his helmet, inside of the
Though
sounds in
I'm
the
like, why is he hearing Crosshair's voice? Why is it?
right.
Does everyone hear Crosshair there?
What was interesting though is with that sound design, just how he had that weird tinnitus thing. Everything's in his head, but his voice changed.
Yeah,
At least to me,
Mm.
his
it sounded like
voice changed.
Crosshair.
Sounded like Crosshair. He sounded like a clone, but more like the original clone voice. Uh, what's his
Yeah.
name? I'm so bad with names sometimes, but it
Like more
really, it wasn't
masculine.
doing the usual Wrecker yaha. I'm
Hmm.
the big strong guy voice kind of a thing. It really went dark. And then Crosshair spoke for a second in his head, and you can tell the difference between the two. But he really started to sound like a clone for
It
that
does occur to
moment.
me
Again,
that it does occur to me
big
that
props to
Crosshair's
Steve Bradley Baker for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
It does occur to me that
Just
Crosshair does have the most like a clone voice.
Hmm.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting. So I think I'm so curious at what does that mean for when you activate? Is it just like you just go after Jedi or just like enemies of the Empire? Or like what do you think? What do you think he's gonna do? Because obviously the Order 66 was specifically oriented towards Jedi. I'm curious what he's gonna do once he fully kicks into gear.
well, they kind of stated that the chip is not just like a reprogramming thing. They mentioned a bit about personalities and things as well. So and we kind of see even with Crosshair, like it's almost like a brainwashing tool kind of a thing. So I'm curious if there's like
Mm,
maybe, as silly as this sounds, I wonder if Order 66 got updated. If that's just the kill code in a
Yeah, it
way.
doesn't seem like a program. It seems like a program that's like being updated, not like yeah, like it
Like
running a new script or something.
I wouldn't be
right.
surprised if there were. I mean, I'm sure they're all connected to the same. Uh, uh, I'm gonna say like wireless
Yeah.
intergalactic transmitter kind of a thing, so they can all hear the same thing. But I'm curious if that's what Order 66 is a very particular one that is.
Yeah, like one of many
This is getting
orders that can be
into
transmitted through the chip.
conspiracy theory level, but like there's a tower
Yeah.
somewhere that is Order 66. You know, And that's what's taking over the clone. That's now what is the signal that's overriding everything. I'm conspiracy theory territory. I'm just guessing, throwing that out there.
I
But
mean,
you know,
that's all we can do. James, I think you can turn your gain up. But
Okay, cool.
I
And how interesting is it that there's like they keep exploring these ideas in one way or another every episode? Like again, now we have an episode where they hack into the tactical droid and they activate all these droids again, and they're all kind of all of a sudden they're switching sides and they're fighting for the clones against other droids, right? So there's like
mhm.
every episode has some kind of way of like exploring like what does this mean when all these people are being programmed for their own meaning, right? Last week we had like the Rancor, right? Um,
Yeah, I mean, there's a constant theme of like, who are you? What are you fighting for? Like, whose side are you on?
mm,
Like, what it does, what defines your character? And, a lot of things being subverted, like with the Rancor, and, also just the presence of a child being able to see things through a child's eyes who has had fewer, has fewer things to hate on just naturally. I think interestingly, like the line that keeps being repeated, of course, is "Good soldiers follow orders," which is like a directive of like who you are. You're a soldier, so since you're a soldier, it must follow that a good soldier follows orders. So if you want to be a good soldier, it follows that you must follow orders. But then also at the beginning of this episode, when Omega is trying to use the bow and they're trying to coach her, I think, is it Hunter? That's like, soldiers must be consistent or something like that. So that's all like
mm.
another angle of like what a soldier should and shouldn't be. And I think the clones have always struggled with this too throughout the Clone Wars. And this is like, who are the clones? Like, what is their identity? Like, they were born to do this, but like, are they, which is why
mhm.
characters like Cut are so like divisive amongst the clones, because it's like, who are you to do that? But what was I made for? And like, if you're created with a purpose, and if you're a soldier, like, they've had brainwashing even before Order 66 their whole life of like what they are supposed to do and what they were made to do, and it must be very hard
Mhm.
to exit that. I think it's ironic that they have been trying to teach Omega so much about like what it is to be whatever a person in the world, when like, do they even know for themselves who they are? Like, they keep trying to teach Omega stuff, and it's just, they also are walking a very fine line themselves.
Yeah, they're teaching Omega how to be a soldier because it's all they know. I see
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying there. Yeah, I mean, and even we're seeing a little bit of that separation when all the battle droids appeared. There's that one little last second little throw out line: "Orders are orders," and they're just keep attacking, and it's this good soldiers follow orders, good droids follow orders, good because there's something that was quite you know programmed in every way to do a very specific thing, and the clones are the whole Camino clone factory is dealing with life, not a droid, but trying to program that in. That's really a different sense of identity. Yeah.
Yeah.
In
I
many ways, this particular cast in the group, the Bad Batch, is a perfect group to explore this idea. And I'm
Hmm.
realizing that when they first announced the show, I wasn't particularly interested. I was like, oh,
Me
okay, well, it's
neither.
gonna be like an action, right? But it's kind of interesting where this group is such an existential, like they have like such an like a interesting existential question about about everything we're talking about, because they are like they're clones, but they're also a little different, right? They've got these like little
Hmm.
things that make them different, but they're also exploring like what is it about them that makes them different. And hypothetically, if we have people like Rex in the show, and they, like you mentioned, Cut is in the show, it's just it's kind of a perfect group
And
to
even
explore
people like
these ideas
Ahsoka,
because
who is contemporary to this time period, who is supposed to be a
mm,
Jedi, and look what happened to her. Like, she
Yeah.
chose a
right.
path, and yeah, orders, ord mantell, breadcrumbs.
old,
Yeah.
Just
old
kidding.
Mantel.
Old, yeah,
Old man tail.
old Martel, old Martez
Old
sister, what's their names?
Martez. Yes.
Martez. Martez. Never
Yeah.
mind. Okay. Yeah. So I guess we'll just keep an eye on that. Here's another a thing that when I'm thinking about the musical DNA of Bad Batch, so like I started making a list. So I'll tell you some things that I've noticed on my
Mhm.
list. One is like the cymbal or like hi hat hits when there's like action about to happen, but they're
Oh,
not
it's
full
simple
on
all the way.
cymbal. Yeah,
Ride
that's what it
cymbals.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like that's like
All the
definitely a
time.
thing. All the time, yeah. I think that's in Resistance too. Another one is like muted trumpets, huge. Muted trumpets everywhere. There's the Night on Bald Mountain violin chromaticism.
Hmm.
When there is action happening, when there's like a tense, when someone's in, when there's danger happening. A lot of these things are like danger things. I guess the whole thing is danger though. Another one is like sort of bass pulses with solo oboe and muted trumpet on top, which
Hmm.
I don't know. I just noticed that a lot. Another one is like a swarm of string tremolo and glissando and woodwind thingies, like when they're sort of like getting to the end of an action or like, tone clusters and stuff, where they'll just kind
Hmm.
of be like, and let's do let's do a little swarm of all the instruments. Let's do a swarm. Another one is stay in key, keep bass pedal until necessary.
Yeah.
What can be repeated will
Mhm.
be repeated. Little harp, like transitions.
Harp
Mhm.
transitions for sure.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
little tone clusters. That's what I have so far. I do want to
Brassy
start
bass synth.
Mhm.
brassy bass synth.
Oh yeah, yeah. Bum, bum, bum,
Mhm.
bum, 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 bum. Yeah,
Oh
like
yeah,
80s style. Bass. Probably. I don't know, Justin. You probably know exactly what's going on there, but that's what I'm hearing.
Bwah, yeah, yeah.
no, yeah,
It's
it's
got
that.
that.
Good, yeah,
It's got that.
great. We're on the same page. One thing I do want to start keeping better, paying more attention to is like if the different of what the different sound worlds for the different planets are. Since we're spending a lot of time
Mm.
on some of the
Hmm.
same places, I'm I'm curious like what does Ord Mantell sound like and like what defines Camino and what defines wherever else we go. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
That's an interesting thought. I don't think I've ever really, because when I think of planetary environments or just the sounds of each planet that we visit, the only one that really comes to mind is Coruscant. Like throughout like the past things and things like that, Coruscant or
Mhm.
um, even I guess Endor, but that's because it's just so much nature involved in that one. So and then Coruscant just
Well,
because
every
of sound design, but I guess I haven't noticed like anything
What defines Coruscant for you?
it's the endless traffic. It's the steam sounds that are everywhere.
Yes, I mean sound design
It's
wise, I think
endless people.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Sorry.
but that's what I'm saying. Like that's what I've been noticing the most. But now I like what you want to pay attention to
Yeah.
because now I'm wondering like has there been any like real musical world differences between the planets?
Because
That's really
something in the
interesting.
films that is like I think the music follows I think there's not so much distinct sound music for different planets. I mean, there are some exceptions. Endor is an exception,
Hmm.
but the sound design is extremely particular for different worlds. But for something like this, where it's sort of like a serialized show, where it's like I feel like it might be the opposite. Well, not the
Hmm.
opposite. I think the music is still pretty consistent, but I think the sound design is going to be a lot more repeated because we're kind of just like going back on the ship every episode and like the same
Yeah.
crew and it's just it's a lot smaller and more contained. So I think, and whatever the sounds of their weapons, they're going to still have their weapons and I think a lot of the sound design will remain more familiar, but since also this is DAW based composing and it's not like this is a traditional orchestral only score, I think what tends to happen is that different instruments end up being associated with different planets. And I think
For
we might
sure.
start to get more of that in this show. Not saying I hope that we get that,
Yeah, agreed.
but I think that we will get that,
Oh yeah,
the so-called
yeah. It's
exotic
like yeah.
instruments.
Like on Tatooine, everybody's got the Rite of Spring on vinyl, right? Everyone that everybody is
Everybody.
constantly everybody's playing the Rite of Spring when
And
you're
also
there.
like Lothal, like not Lothal. I forgot what the planet. Maybe it is Lothal that I'm thinking of. Does
From
have
Rebels.
like, yeah, it does have a specific. And Zygeria definitely does, right?
Oh yeah, Zygeria has those, like basically Middle Eastern frame
Yeah.
drums is
Yeah.
Yeah.
where they go with that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But but yeah, also it kind of happened, and I was curious about the that happened on Onderon, right? The beginning of the on in the series opener, you have that
Oh yeah,
those
Onderon.
themes from Saws. Oh yeah, for sure, the guitar
Mm-hmm.
themes and all those different sounds from the Clone Wars. I think a lot of this lies in the Clone Wars. I like the what do you call it? Trace and Rafa's theme is throughout this
Mm-hmm.
episode as well, um, which is I think there's just a lot of that. I think we noticed like the beginning of the series when Order 66 happened, they basically just Kevin Kleiner uses the same cue that happens in the Ahsoka Order 66 episode in the Siege of Mandalore. Same cues. So lots of Clone Wars world building, I think. So I think it's
Which
probably
is
helpful
good,
to
which
go
is
back
cool.
and yeah, no, it's great. Because it kind of that's what it hits those familiar beats with you, when you're like, oh, okay, now we're here. I'm curious. I want to go back and watch Solo now and see if there's anything
Oh,
that happens on.
that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm curious if there's anything
That's
going on there. I don't remember any arena rock in Solo, but
the only thing I
Well,
remember
Solo has
music.
Java Flow. Or no. Solo has chicken in the pot.
Chicken in the pot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it has the
The Imperial March.
it has the Imperial March
Yeah.
playing as
Diegetic, yeah.
diegetic music in the background in a very weird, cheesy version, like more upbeat,
Like in Rebels too.
join the Imperial Army, in kind of a way.
Yeah.
Which I always thought was kind of a funny little thing they did in there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Next
Well,
episode.
John Williams is in like canon in Star Wars, right? Well, I forget what his character's name was in Rise of Skywalker.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah. The bartender. Yeah.
Yeah.
With his name
so
kind of
he
jumbled
did
up.
write all that. Maybe like the pressure of how he like basically wrote for the previous fascist dictatorship like just really wore him down, and he had to go become a bartender at that on that point.
They took
"Oh my
my
God,
music, my theme. I wrote that.
Well, one of the people, I feel like there is someone still alive who did like a lot of Nazi propaganda videos, and I feel like that. Yeah. Ugh.
There's a total connection.
But I like when music jumps from diegetic to non-diegetic, which I also, I've talked to James about this before. I posit that Augie's Municipal March band or whatever is both diegetic and non-diegetic at the same time. And I hope, again, that we get more I hope we get the cheesiest diegetic music throughout the series. I will be disappointed if we don't get more, which I think we will. Oh my gosh. I think we will.
Max is coming. Max
It's
Rebo's
definitely
coming. He's on the way.
definitely going to be the same type of it's definitely going to be like the hair metal, like 80s stadium rock type bands. Yeah.
Right?
That
Like
would be
that
funny.
moment where what's it what's the Lasat name from Rebels?
Yeah, Zeb is just chilling outside,
is
like listening to his radio,
It's like basically like
drinking a
it's like
beer,
it's like
a space beer.
it's basically Journey he's listening to.
Yeah.
It's like Star
That's
Wars
funny.
Journey.
Yeah, that is such a hilarious part. I love that part. It's really funny. Yeah. So we keep saying this, but I feel like next episode will be a big one.
Oh, it's gonna be
Always
a real
a big
big
one.
one.
Oh yeah.
It'll
Like
be
you
big.
said, it's been 4 episodes since we've seen the Empire, Crosshair, Camino, any of these things. So if
I
not
hope we
this
get
one,
any one of those. I would like to get next episode.
yeah,
Any one of
Even
those.
any of them.
Any or all. Any or all. Be great. Or Fennec. Just something
It's true.
like that. I also, side note, last thing I'll say is I hope that the chip stuff doesn't become too big of a deal. It absolutely will, but like I don't want it to be because I what?
I'm laughing because I'm pretty sure it's going to be a very
Yo,
big.
yeah, they've been kind of hinting at this one.
You're like, oh,
The
poor
guy is-
thing,
the
poor
guy's in his
thing. You
head.
don't want it.
I
No,
don't.
no.
I mean,
Okay, no. What I'm
I'm.
saying is, seriously though, other than, of course, I don't want it to happen because I care about the characters. I also think they've teased it so much that now it's not even surprising. Like I kind of almost don't care about the chip anymore because it's like, oh yeah, okay, we'll get another development. Okay,
Yeah.
I guess we know where this is going, so now let's see how it plays out. And I don't want to just like I don't like watching stuff where I just know exactly how it's going to play out and I'm just waiting for it to go down. And I think they've like telegraphed it so much that it's so obvious that I actually somewhat think that that's a red herring for a completely other situation. Like I think like maybe the chip will happen. It'll be a problem for like 2 minutes. Tech will fix it, and then something that we weren't even paying attention to because we were paying attention to the chip is going to happen, and that's what I hope it'll be.
Well, as we know, Rex knows how to take chips out, right? From Clone Wars, right? He took his own chip out, right? Or he had
Ahsoka helped
Ahsoka, or
him.
I forget. Somebody helped him, but regardless, he like knows how to do it, right?
But that would be an
Like,
interesting twist.
So like
Maybe a
I hope that
record.
we don't just focus on the
and
chip too much because
and Omega was a medical assistant, remember, right? She was a medical assistant
yes.
for the clones,
So the
right?
point is, let's not drag the
So
chip out for too many episodes, and get some other threat. You know, I want to be surprised. I want to be surprised.
I think Boba Fett's going to be in the show. There's another wild speculation. There you go.
I think that's completely fair. Yeah,
I think Boba Fett is the one looking for Omega.
I've heard that. I think everyone's looking for her though.
Everyone.
Yeah. I think
More stakes.
How about her? How about her? Like, yeah, it is seedy. It's great.
Oh, that was a
Yeah,
really great line. I think something about this episode, and I think the show in general, like definitely one of the strongest parts is the acting. It's so good,
Yeah.
and there are so many there are so many ways that lines are delivered where I'm like, not only just don't pay attention to it because because it's believable, but where it's like actively like that is a really precious like way, like that's memorable, like goggles, like it's seedy, like there are just so many good.
For me in this episode, it was when she calms Hunter and says, "I'm stuck on the conveyor belt." For some reason, that part sticks out to me because of how she says it. You truly hear fear in Omega's voice, and she's always happy-go-lucky. She wants to barge into this, and like, I know she gets into sticky situations and kind of like gets out of them, but this was at least from what I know, the first time that she's like, I screwed up or something like that. I need help. And Hunter just without a question switches everything he's doing and says, I am on my way. I'm going to tear down this whole tower, this whole bridge just to get to you.
And on top of that,
continue.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say, on top of that, with that, I like how the Bad Batch has evolved the relationship with her, where this isn't like something they're scolding her about it now. Like they've realized, like, you're one of us, and this just happens when we go on missions together. Like, and we have to look out for each other. Like, remember,
Not like you shouldn't have been even last episode.
Right.
There was like, what do you use your comm for? Like to make sure that you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that relationship is evolving amongst the crew. So I appreciated that.
I do appreciate that too, from the perspective that she's definitely superhuman. When I think about it in terms of real life, I'm like, yeah, no adults should be doing that, probably.
It's true.
Like, it's fine. You're one of us now.
Terrible. It's
It's
terrible
fine.
parenting.
It's
You know, you're.
But I
Yeah,
like
the
it too.
Mandalorian is also a terrible parent too, right? I mean, he just like leaves his baby unaccompanied, and it's just like there's not a lot of
Brings his
great Star Wars parents.
no.
In
Brings
terms of
his baby to
supervision.
the fight, and it's like, yeah, no, it's good. He's 20. He's 500. He's of age, or whatever he was.
Yeah, right. He's some unsettling number of years old.
Unsettling.
Yeah. He just looks young.
Yeah.
What do you want to see? What do you want to hear next episode? Like, what's one
Oh.
prediction that you think we're going to hear, or that you would like to hear? I think we're gonna get more than. I think we're gonna get more than 5 seconds of Omega's theme. Like, I think we're gonna get Omega's theme actually allowed to sing next
That's
episode.
what I was gonna say. Actually, I really liked her moment with the bow at the end, and her theme kind of kind of went into the epic orchestral style for a second there.
For 2 bars
not-
for sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I really liked that, and I'd hopefully get more of that kind of like epic Omega feel, like heroic Omega. Like, I don't know. It sounds nice, both soft and with that full orchestration.
Yeah. It'd be cool if there's more to it than we've heard.
Mhm.
Like, it'd be cool if like, it's a pretty short theme. It'd be cool if it kind of extends into something longer, if she gets more of a moment, and maybe we
I
hear
think
more
that's
of
doubtful, but
Yeah,
hope
I
so
like
too.
mice.
I mean,
Wouldn't that
we
be
are
cool?
hearing it in the credits, but
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
not much except for that and like the Braveheart flute. But we're not hearing it in the
I wanna hear more
episodes out in the
prequel
open,
themes.
and that's what I want. Or I want any music. I want the music to have like a moment. That's what I want, other than just like the action underneath. Like, what is that? What is that music? What is that music?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prequel themes?
Yeah, more prequel themes. Yeah, it'll be cool to hear more callbacks.
Which prequel theme do you want?
Good question. Let's let's go with the diegetic music from inside the bar that Elon's Sleazebagano was selling death sticks. I want a good old death stick callback. That's what I want. I have no idea what that music sounds like. I'd have to go back and listen to it. But there you go.
I think we'll get more droid.
There's my
More Trade Federation.
I was gonna say some more Trade Federation stuff, or just something from Revenge of the Sith would be really nice.
Battle of the Heroes, maybe.
Battle of the Heroes would be
probably not, but I hope so.
Or maybe we find like some sort of, because we're digging through all these battle droids that are being decommissioned and destroyed. I know General Grievous had a different ending to his death was a little bit more epic, but maybe we'll find a little reminiscence of him in his theme somewhere. Like, they throw the little like turn and get a little jump scare because his head is like right there, but we pan out and it's really just like a dismantled kind of thing. Like, we hear a little moment of General Grievous.
I feel like I feel like we won't get any John Williams themes unless there's definitely a reason, just because they probably won't dip into that well unless they really mean it. Makes sense from a production standpoint. But yeah, anyway, thanks for joining me on another exhaustive commentary session. I think it was good to talk about the vocabulary of the show in general, just so it's not like, we're not just picking at like random details anymore. There's definitely trends at this point. And it's interesting to see what they are. And now it makes me also want to rewatch like all the shows. It makes me want to rewatch Clone Wars and see how it's developed, the music. Yeah. So, is there a new episode next week? Yes, there is.
Hey.
Are you you both down?
Yeah.
Of course.
James from Maine.
James from Maine.
Cool. Well,
Scarborough, Maine.
well, we will be back next week, 3 p.m. Pacific time, not Maine time, on Saturday to talk about Bad Batch episode 7, the music,
Woo!
and how all of our predictions will be right.
All of them.
Really though, I think that 7 and 8 are definitely going to have, I think they're going to have some really good music. I think they're going to have some really big musical moments. If anything, because of this fact the soundtrack is going to be coming out. That is episodes 1 through 8. So they're going to have to squeeze something on there.
Something.
So yay. All right. Let's do our ending music.
Oh, my keyboard's off. Damn, I was gonna.
Do 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 do
Do-do-do-do-do,
do
do-do-do.
do 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 do.